With me are three politicians, each of whom is admired by at least some of the millions of Tea Party participants across America. Congressman and Dr. Ron Paul, former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin, and joining us now is Dr. Paul's son, Republican candidate for Senate from Kentucky, Dr. Rand Paul. Dr. Rand Paul, it is a tricky balancing act, is it not, for you to bring social conservatives and libertarians, those people whom your father has stirred the pot with, together behind your campaign? How do you do it?
Well, the interesting thing is I don't find that there's that much friction. When people ask me, what's the Tea Party about? I say the top three issues are the debt, and the debt. It's all about government overspending. It's all about people who are worried and concerned about the future of the country. Governor Palin mentioned it earlier. Bernanke is now saying this. The deficit is unsustainable. That's a pretty potent word, unsustainable. And that's what the worry is about. But the issues I talk about do bring people together. Term limits are popular with everybody.
Right.
Balancing the budget by law is popular with everybody.
Right.
Making them read the bills is popular with just about everybody.
Right.
And making them enumerate where in the Constitution they get the power for the bills. If you put that up as a Tea Party platform, it'll be more popular than the contract with America.
Governor Palin, when you publicly endorsed the candidacy of Rand Paul, you took on, and you have a successful history of doing this, the establishment of the Republican Party, in this case in Kentucky. You ruffled some feathers, it didn't bother you. Why were you willing to do that? What is it about his candidacy that caused you to stick your neck out and endorse it against the hierarchy of the Republican Party?
Well, first I want to say hello to Rand and to remind him that, yeah, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it, if my name gets attached to your candidacy. And here you are being misconstrued by the lamestream media, and they taking things out of context when you want the opportunity to further explain your positions. And when I've seen this lately, I've just wanted to say, welcome to my world, Rand. But bless your heart, you're doing great. And he's willing to put it all on the line, Judge. That is why I respect and endorse Rand Paul. His libertarian views, too, which I so respect, are in great contrast to the overreach, intrusive government that is being shoved down our throat right now by the Obama administration. We need more Rand Pauls of the world to be willing to put it all on the line and be in a position to cast a vote to put us back on the right track to protect our Constitution.
Congressman Paul, were you surprised when a former member of the National Republican ticket, she ran for vice president a year and a half ago, stuck her neck out and opposed the party hierarchy to endorse an avowed libertarian like your son?
5 years ago, I'd have been totally shocked. I wouldn't have believed it. Today, things are changing. I've sort of anticipated, but I was still pleasantly surprised when she did it, and it made a big difference. So that's very good.
One of your colleagues, Congressman Dana Rohrabacher, a Republican from Southern California and a former speechwriter for Ronald Reagan, recently said that almost all Republican members of the House of Representatives now believe the Iraq War was a mistake. Do you agree with his assessment? And if so, how has there been such a sea change in thinking on the part of Republicans in government?
Yeah, I would think that he represents most of the people in Washington, but I think he represents the large majority of the American people. How long do people want to put up with a war that is a no-win war and just goes on and on and on? We've been in Afghanistan even longer. How long is it going to be until the people give up on that? So, no, that the people are really tired of it all.
Dr. Paul, what do you tell audiences in Kentucky when they ask you about what should we do with the war? Should we bring these troops home? Should we prosecute them more aggressively? Right. Do we belong there in the first place?
I'm not as bold as you or my dad, I think, on some of these issues, but I think there's sort of an in-between. Like, I talked to 100 GIs, and I know Governor Palin's son served in the military over there, but I talked to 100 GIs that were leaving for Afghanistan recently, and I just asked them a simple question. I said, I want to know from you, are we doing a good enough job, fast enough, to turn over patrolling of the streets to the local Afghanis? Just that simple question. Not do we come home precipitously, do we end it, but are we doing a good enough job turning it over to the local soldiers to patrol the streets? Every one of those GIs raised their hands, and their colonel was there with them. And they're patriotic young men, and the balancing act is we do need to support our young men and what they're doing, but at the same time we need to ask, is 10 years not too long for turning the process back over to the local Afghani soldiers?
Governor Palin, what argument would you make to suggest the following? The government has to stop printing money. The government can't keep putting us in debt. Debt is going to choke us, because I think Dr. Paul, the candidate for Kentucky Senate is correct. That unites everybody in the Tea Parties.
It sure does. What unites us is this acknowledgement now that we are stealing from the future generations of Americans, this generational theft, which is immoral, it's unethical, it's not right, it should be illegal, that we are stealing opportunities from our children because we are paying for our wants and our needs today, and then we're expecting them to pick up the tab. And that's why fiscal conservatives and social conservatives and those strong on national security all together are under this umbrella of the Tea Party movement, because we're saying enough is enough. And I know that I have that social conservative label it's kind of stamped on my forehead right now, but I'm an independent, as so many Tea Party Americans are. I'm independent, and I'm happily registered within the GOP because I believe that the planks in that platform of that party can help build best our nation.
I see a great deal of unity here. I see people from all across the Tea Party movement fed up with the federal government, fed up with a government that thinks it can right any wrong and regulate any behavior and spend all the money it wants. And I also see a movement that's going to transcend the November elections. Governor Palin, Dr. Paul, Congressman Paul, thank you very much for being here today on Freedom Watch.